If you earned $1 per second, then to make $1 million would take you about 11 and a half days, but to make $1 billion would take you over 31 and a half years. You see, if easy to think of wealth in terms of rich or poor. But broadly speaking, there are arguably 5 different levels of rich, and each level things change it very drastically. The difference between what a millionaire can do and a billionaire can do. In this video we'll be exploring what life is like in each of these different wealth levels and delving into how the ultra-rich spend their money, including some of the most and extravagant purchases you've ever heard of. But as you're watching, you'll realize that one of the biggest changes that happens at each of these wealth levels is perspective, because relative to how much you earn. So if you compare someone who's earning $40,000 a year with someone earning $400 million a year, it's 10,000 times more, which means a Lambo that costs $300,000 to them is the equivalent of spending $30. A $10 million piece of art feels like $1,000. A $50 million home in the Hamptons feels more like $5,000. So what's to us? Each of those purchases would feel so major to a billionaire. It's not even something they'd really need to think about. And of course, when you're that wealthy, it's not just items and experiences that you can buy, but we'll get to that. Let's instead start off with the first level of rich. Know this phrase is synonymous with being income is over about $200,000 a year. You would technically be part of the top 1% of worldwide earners in the top. They don't make you feel quite as rich as you would think, because sure, you can typically afford a nice house and car, but with those things comes higher costs, and so you probably don't feel very financially secure, and you're likely still working a full-time job, which is why beyond this level wealth starts to be measured in net worth rather than income. Because the more wealth you have, the more assets you have, and your money from a normal salary. So, the next level of rich is a net worth $1 million to $30 million. But this level your needs are met. You can live very comfortably, you have a really nice house, you often fly first class internationally. If it's a special occasion, you might book a $2,000 suits, you can afford any health care you need. And in fact, no emergency financial situation can destroy your life, and yet you're still not rich in the way that money doesn't matter. You still have to be sensible and careful when it comes to big decisions. And in the banking world, your stomach classified as having an ultra-high net worth, which brings us to our next level. The net worth of $30 million to $100 million at this point. You start playing in the big leagues. And at most likely you will have a controlling interest in a very large company. You always stay at 5-star hotels, and you have multiple residences all around the world that you can stay in as well. You take holidays during prime time, for example, going to Monaco for the Grand Prix or Cannes for the film festival, and you want that an island, when the place you're staying at costs $10,000 to $20,000 per night, you have personal assistants and are starting to have people that others have to talk to get to you. You can buy pretty much anything that normal people think of as stuff, rich people buy, like you can buy any cards, you want the fanciest jewelry, and so on. Instead of flying first class, you supply primers. Although having said that, you typically charge off lights or own a private jet fractionally through a service like NetJackets instead of buying out rides and having to maintenance. But still, this level another big change that happens is your social. You probably start socializing with congressmen, senators, and community leaders. You're likely all respected within some very high-class circles. Interesting me, though, since you're likely surrounded by other ultra-wealthy people, you may start to feel you don't have enough. Sure, you may have just bought a new Ferrari, but your friend has a limited edition. Where only 5 are ever made, and I'm sure you had dinner with a local governor, but your billionaire friend just had dinner with the president. Even of this level, people are still looking above them. Brings us to our next level of wealth, to $1 billion. Net worth. To be at this level, you likely have ownership or control of a business that most of the public have heard of. Even if they haven't heard of you directly, at this point, you can likely socialize with movie stars, rock stars, and the corporate elites. You can go pretty much any way you want and always in style. You have multiple residences for staff all over the world with elite cars at every residence. If it's your thing, you might have a private island and of course a private yacht to get you there. Almost any experience you can dream up. You can have one. I play tennis with your favorite star. Call this people for a donation of 100,000 or more to his charity. You can probably play a match with him on your favorite band to come and play at your private party, or for the right price, they probably will. What about if you love odds? Your people could arrange for the curator of the move to show you around, and show you some masterpieces they haven't exhibited in years. If you can dream an experience up, you can likely have it. Donations and fees can get you to anyone. And once you have many hundreds of millions of dollars, it's the same. When it comes to buying things, you may hire people specifically to find you the most extravagant versions of items you can think of. For example, the Australian company, Toilet Paper Man, produces 22-karat gold toilet paper for cost of over 1.3 million. And if you are going to quite literally flush money down the toilet, why don't get a gold toilet or an entire gold bathroom to go with it? In fact, if you're ultra wealthy, you can literally have gold everything. How about a 24-karat gold water bottle, which in itself is a piece of designer art, and spring water from France and Fiji combined with glacier water from Iceland? Or alternatively, how about the world's most expensive iPhone that has 24-karat gold casing and more than 600 white and black diamonds plus sapphire glass for the screen? This obviously isn't available to the general public to buy one. You're gonna need over $15 million, but this is the key. This level is not just about buying the fanciest, most luxurious items. It's about getting the rarest and most exclusive things you possibly can. For example, you can get a limited edition pen because $160,000 has 4,810 diamonds inside, and only 8 are made each year. Or if you want to go a lot bigger than that, many billionaires turned art, and not just rare paintings, but things like this dead shark art piece created by Damien Hirst saw for $12 million. Or let's say you like piano. Well, here's the same crystal piano that was used for the Beijing Olympic Games. That was purchased in a private auction for a record $3.2 million. This wealth level, your mind is the only real limit to what is available. But then we have a final level, the 1 billion net worth and above. Now, before we get into what you can do as a billionaire, which honestly is pretty insane, it's worth noting that the number of billionaires on Forbes' annual rich list has significantly increased in recent years, and there's now around 2,755 known billionaires. Of course it's possible there are more. You have generational wealth, but simply do a good job of staying very, very private. But either way, forms of estimated, these 2,755 billionaires are worth a combined $13.1 trillion, and therefore have more wealth between them than the poorest 5 billion people on Earth combined. These statistics are overwhelming, but let's actually visualize it to put things in perspective. This rice example really highlights that even within this billionaire category, the difference between 1 billion, the kind of wealth Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk have, is insanely vast. I'm also a big fan of James Jennings' YouTube channel, and he did a great job of visualizing the difference between these large sums of money in a different way. So after seeing these examples, we've now got a better idea of the scale of $1 billion. So now let's look at what you can actually do with that, because essentially you can buy anything, and I do mean anything. We're no longer talking about luxurious items and experiences. Firstly, you can buy access. You can ask your staff to contact almost anyone on the planet and get a call back. It's amazing. The level of access I'm respect $1 billion can get you, where within an hour you can ask your people to get in touch with someone and they be able to do it. And I'm not just talking about contacting celebrities. It works the same with powerful people within politics as well, especially because the billionaire may well be a donor to their political party. And so if you're a billionaire, you may occasionally meet with the heads of states and have conversations with them, which brings us to the second thing. $1 billion combined influence. As a billionaire, you have many ways to shape public policy and the public debates. And this isn't always done in some kind of evil way like lobbying for lower taxes for rich people, although obviously that does happen. But the simple fact is, because of your wealth and connections, influence big changes in the world, and not just on a political level. Because another thing you can buy is impact through philanthropy and charity. Your money can literally change countless lives. The question is, how do you distribute it? Clean water for villages, fun, new hospitals, Try to save a dying species of animal with money. You can impact almost anything of your choice. One of the biggest differences with billionaires that is often overlooked is the ability to essentially buy time. You quite literally don't have to wait for anything. No lines, no sitting around. Just think about it on private jam. So you just show up at the airport whenever you want, sit down in the plane, and 2 minutes later you're in the sky and can go wherever you wish. When you arrive, a driver will have already been arranged to pick you up and take you wherever you want to go. Your system will have already got the best table at the restaurant you mentioned wanting to eat at, or maybe your assistant arranged for a celebrity chef to come to one of your vacation homes. Instead, at whatever time you choose, everything you could need is taken care of for you. However, believe it or not, there are some downsides to being this ultra wealthy. Firstly, is nearly impossible to have normal emotional relationships at this level. It can become increasingly difficult to have friends and family that love you for who you are. Big